Hello, my name is Charlie. I'm a second year TV production student at BU, and today I'm going to be talking about adaptation theory and the PostNetwork era. For context, this presentation will be based on a research assignment I carried out during first semester. Here is the assignment question I was given. The structure of this begins with a treatment in which I establish my intentions for the adaptation and the format it will be made into. I then critically discuss my reasons for adapting in this way whilst forming a consideration for the relationship my adaptation would have with its source text. In forming the treatment, the adaptation I proposed to make was for the acclaimed novel The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness. You may know of his more familiar work, A Monster Calls, which was adapted into a feature in 2016. Chaos Walking is a young adult science fiction series set on a dystopian planet in a post-apocalyptic scenario, whereby humans have left Earth and colonized on what is referred to by protagonist Todd Hewitt as New World. On this planet, there is an indigenous alien life form that previously resided in peace before human settlement began. This life form, the spackle, infected a disease Todd calls the noise, which inflicts a constant array of sounds, images, and words depicting the thoughts of all living creatures. The story commences in Todd's home settlement on New World, where there are no women and villainous leader. We learn early on that Todd has been deprived of an education and is illiterate. He continuously battles with this throughout the central plot. Following this, we will see the cracks start to show within the lies and secrets of Todd's settlement. On account of Todd's curiosity, he discovers a young girl named Viola. This meeting initiates chaos and danger, causing Todd to leave his settlement and embark on a great journey and exploration across the unknown landscape of New World, with Viola as his companion. The story has similar themes to other dystopian novels such as The Hunger Games, Divergent, and The Maze Runner. Also, most similarly, the television series The 100. This is the thematic aesthetic my adaptation will embody, an audience of which it will target. I propose the adaptation would be entitled Chaos Walking and would be adapted as a long-form television drama series, this being the name overarching the novel series, arguing that it would be best served in this format as opposed to a feature-length film, as the previous dystopian novels were. I argue that it would achieve higher success in the same format as high-profile shows such as Game of Thrones or the BBC's more recent His Dark Materials. As Backton writes, the novel is organically receptive to new forms, which today seems more accurate than ever before with the prevalence of long-form television drama and the recurring trend of adapting young adult fiction novels. The show will appeal to the young adult demographic as the novel series was originally written for, drawing on themes of escapism and adventure. Stories set in another time, past or future, and alternate worlds are often well received by this demographic, as we find relief in the fantasization of the prospect of a reality different from our own. Tolkien discusses ideas around fairy tale stories and how they provide us with feelings of consolation, escape, and fantasy, how there are often elements of an underlying truth in this secondary story world that derives somewhere from our reality. The possible existence of alien life forms in reality gives us this same sense of underlying truth within Chaos Walking. The Chaos Walking book series is written in a unique format. Ness uses scrawled text to demonstrate the noise disease. This method gives the book style that feels imaginative and almost visual. These qualities make it seem as though it was written to be adapted for the screen, or as Hutchin puts, made suitable. It seems necessary or an obligation to adapt the series due to the great importance of sound within the narrative. It should be heard. Writing for the screen has become commonplace among fiction writers, which today seems more accurate than ever before with the prevalence of long-form television drama and the recurring trend of adapting young adult fiction novels. The writing styles of novelists have altered. They often write with the intent of adaptation in a visually descriptive format. This can be attributed to the successful adaptations of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings and J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. Hutchin furthers, with adaptations, we seem to desire the repetition as much as the change. This seems to be the reasoning for canonical adaptations, like the above mentioned, and the pattern followed by more recent adaptations. Drawing on Tolkien's ideas that every writer hopes that he is drawing on reality, perhaps the reason for these dystopian stories being set in an alternate version of the world we already live in, rather than a fictitious world like Middle-earth, is an attempt to bring more underlying truth and a presence of reality to the diegesis. This exhibits a trend in genre and writing style. The post-apocalyptic fiction novel peaked in prominence across the years that epics such as The Hunger Games, The Maze Runner, and Divergent were written. All of these were published in close proximity, as were their adapted features, evidencing a closing gap between versions and implying a sense of immediacy in adaptation, which begs the question, why was Chaos Walking not adapted into a feature film in the years that followed, as the other three young adult novels were, when written in the same successful format? The film rights for the Chaos Walking trilogy were purchased by Lionsgate Entertainment in 2011, and filming began in 2017. Production was scheduled to reach completion in 2019, however, footage was considered unreleasable, and as of now is scheduled for reshoots. It seems clear that Chaos Walking missed its window to join the other dystopian novels in their adaptation trend as feature-length films. Therefore, I argue that it would be better served adapted as a long-form television series. The attempt to bring unfilmable epics faithfully to the screen. Perhaps, also, Chaos Walking has so much detail and a complicated narrative that it would be best broken up into an episodic format across multiple series to make it more filmable. Chaos Walking will be adapted by the means of the Fidelity Approach, trading upon the memory of the novel. The Fidelity Approach assumes a concordance with the source text, resulting in a faithful translation of content from one form to another. Alternatively, the heteroglossic approach suggests an adaptation is comprised through the utterances of all previous versions. Examples of films adapted through the Fidelity Approach would be Harry Potter or The Hunger Games. These texts are seen as canonical, they are the authentic version. Readers see the original text as the true and authoritative version. This is the story readers want to see brought to life on screen. Girardi utilizes an open narrative process, meaning to adapt in a way in which it is possible to see variations in how particular incidents or characters are handled and how the familiar is updated. It will be vital to stay faithful to Ness's canonical text, yet not to a slavish degree. Theorists such as Sarah Cardwell would argue that the original is enhanced by its adaptation and can improve upon the source material. Complete fidelity is not realistic nor desirable, and it is therefore better to view the adaptation as open-ended, like Game of Thrones, for example, or perhaps The 100, a dystopian drama series which has nothing in common with its predecessor book series, aside from character names and the apocalyptic scenario. Litch further discusses how Tolkien created such a resonant and densely textured fabric of references for Middle-earth. I argue that a TV series for Chaos Walking would allow for so much more depth and exploration of Ness's invented world. There would be potential for expansion of the narrative, adventures, and subsidiary storylines that deviate from the principal diegesis. I will now address the post-network era, discussing how the HBO network is described as quality TV, and why it is the influential format to other networks. It's not TV, it's HBO, brands HBO in a way that aims to separate itself from other broadcast channels. They reject the post-network era, and their format allows them to compete with the online streaming service and keeps their content relevant and worth paying for. Original programming is a large component to their success. An epic novel series such as Game of Thrones a decade ago would likely have been adapted into a series of feature films, but the dominating form today is the TV drama. It sets out to appeal to the college-educated audience who supposedly do not watch TV. This implies that the reason for the dying popularity of television post-1966 is down to younger generations being uninterested in the traditional format of broadcast TV. Traditional network television sells viewers to advertisers, whereas HBO sells programs to viewers. The contemporary viewer is a demographic drawn in by and loyal to long-form, serial, narratively sophisticated storytelling. We live in a contemporary era of everything at once, so in order for television networks to compete with services such as Netflix, they must produce quality content that is worth paying for, developing a loyalty to, and waiting for the next season of. The BBC's recent release of the highest budget series they have ever produced, His Dark Materials. The first episode aired on November 5th of last year and was quick to receive praise with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 81% and an audience average of 90%. The book series His Dark Materials had been previously adapted in the 2007 film The Golden Compass, which accumulated a measly Rotten Tomatoes score of 42%, hence this revised attempt of adapting the popular series by the BBC. This further suggests the declining success of the feature film adaptation due to the rich detail of such epics and the increasing success of the TV drama. The worldwide success of HBO's Game of Thrones has clearly been rapidly influential to networks like the BBC, and therefore the future of television will follow this format, as will my adaptation. Using a long-form format to produce my adaptation will enable the series to produce a faithful adaptation of Ness's epic story, whilst leading into how this process of relocation can stimulate new utterances and creativity. A long-form television series offers an open-endedness in which there is so much potential for narrative growth. It is clear that, although it is desirable to attempt the fully faithful adaptation, a successful adaptation will come from the creativity and openness to a progressive narrative. To achieve longevity, a series must be adapted with the continuation of growth and character development. To adapt the vast content of a diegesis existent in a fictitious alternate world, it is most achievable through the format of a long-form series. This will enable Chaos Walking to grow and change accordingly in relation to both its source material and the influence of other ever-changing texts, as well as the demands of the contemporary viewer. There will be a constant dialogue between the adaptation, its source text, and other similar texts as the series adapts with time, whilst maintaining a reasonable degree of fidelity. Thank you.